In our world of warehousing, transportation, and supply chain operations, titles or what we call ourselves can vary widely. You may be in sanitation, running a scrubber, and setting the plate for the next shift, or you may be a yard spotter moving trailers, or maybe you're on a forklift racking pallets. Or an order selector chasing cases, a clerk managing paperwork, a dispatcher coordinating loads, or an inventory analyst balancing numbers that keep millions of dollars accounted for. All different roles with different responsibilities. But there is one thing that ties every successful associate, supervisor, and leader together. Welcome back all. I'm Marty with Warehouse and Operations as a Career, and today I'd like to talk about ownership. Ownership is not given to us with a certificate, a vest, or a title. It's not written into our job description. It's a decision, one we make every single shift. I think ownership is the mindset of saying this is my job and I'm responsible for how it's done. Or if something goes wrong, I don't look around, I point at myself. If something can be better, I want to be part of the solution. In my view, ownership means you don't separate yourself from the outcome. I own that responsibility. Whether you're loading a trailer, counting inventory, or scheduling freight, your work represents not just you, but your team, your company, and our industry. Let's talk about us on the floor for a minute. We'll start with sanitation. Ownership here means more than just cleaning. It means understanding why that aisle must be clear of debris and why spills must be handled and cleaned up immediately. Why a clean facility prevents injuries, contamination, and lost productivity. Understanding all that, ownership says, I'm not just cleaning, I'm protecting people and freight. And regarding the forklift operator, ownership isn't just about moving product from point A to point B. To me, it's about performing your pre-trip inspection like your safety depends on it, because it does, and handling product like it belongs to you and always being aware of your surroundings. Ownership says this machine, this load, and this environment are my responsibility. And pretty much the same with the order selector. Ownership shows up in accuracy. We all know how one mispick can affect a customer, a driver, and our reputation. And then there's the productivity. Our cases per hour can impact the entire operation. Here, if it's mine, ownership says if it leaves my pallet, it's going to be right. Are you starting to see a theme develop? What's up next? The spotter or yard hauler. Ownership here is just as critical. It means knowing where every trailer is and why it's spotted there, checking equipment before moving it or setting the reefer temps, and of course communicating clearly with the dock. Ownership says nothing moves in this yard without awareness and intention. And in positions like a clerk or dispatcher or inventory control or more office-type settings, ownership in these roles is often invisible but incredibly important. It means accuracy in documentation, clear communication with drivers and teams, staying ahead of problems before they hit the dock, and understanding discrepancies, not just reporting them, and digging into root causes, really just protecting the company's financial integrity and responsibilities. I think that ownership is saying if information flows through me, it flows correctly. And if the numbers are off, I don't guess, I'll investigate. Okay, enough of all that. Now let's talk about leadership. Ownership doesn't stop when you get promoted. I think it becomes even more important. A supervisor or manager who owns their role understands how the team's success is their success and that the team's failures are also their responsibility. And how the culture, safety, productivity, and morale all fall under their watch. Ownership and leadership is addressing issues immediately, not later, and like we learned last week, coaching instead of criticizing and setting expectations clearly and consistently. And an important part is holding people accountable, but holding yourself accountable first. A leader with ownership never says that's not my department or that's not my problem. Instead, they say, let's figure it out, or how do we fix this? Or something like, what can we do better next time? And of course, ownership is one of the strongest drivers of safety in any facility. Like we learned in episode 362. You can have posters on the walls and safety meetings every day along with all the training programs in place, but if individuals don't take ownership, none of it sticks. Ownership in safety says I'm responsible for going home safe and helping others do the same. We've talked before about what gets measured gets managed. That's one of my many mentors' favorite quotes. I've always believed ownership drives performance. When an associate owns their numbers, they know their cases per hour and they understand their goals. That person is always looking for ways to improve. They don't wait to be told, they take the initiative. I'm convinced that ownership turns average performance into consistent performance, which in turn takes consistent performance into top performance levels. And on another note, have you ever heard anyone say, that's not my job? That mindset will stall a career faster than almost anything else. Now, there are job descriptions, absolutely. Are there responsibilities? Of course. But ownership has to understand something bigger. We are part of a system and every role impacts another. Success is shared and so are failures. And ownership doesn't mean doing everything. It means caring about everything. It means being willing to step in when needed, help a teammate, and raising your hand when something's off. It's important to remember that the operation doesn't run on job descriptions. It runs on people. Here's something I probably don't talk about enough. In my opinion, ownership builds trust. When you consistently do what you say, take responsibility, and deliver results, people notice. And our supervisors and managers notice. But even more importantly, your teammates notice. They know they can count on you. And in this industry, being someone others can count on is really everything. That's how we grow and increase our earnings. Remember how I feel about being that employee? And speaking of growth, if you're looking to move up to that lead, supervisor, or manager role, ownership is the pathway. And I don't believe leadership is just about titles, authority, or even pay increases. It's about responsibility. And we've talked about the best leaders. They were the associates who owned their roles early on in their career. They took pride in their work, and they solved problems before they were asked. I always felt that my ownership told my leaders that I'm ready for more. In today's global supply chain, whether it's truckload, LTL, air freight, or ocean shipments, ownership matters. One missed detail can delay shipments, cost thousands of dollars, and impact customers across the country or even the world. Ownership at every level ensures accuracy, efficiency, and reliability. From the warehouse floor to international logistics, ownership is what keeps our supply chain intact. Let's see, what else did I bullet point here? Ownership doesn't just affect your job, it affects your life. When you take ownership, you build confidence and develop discipline, all while strengthening your reputation. You stop making excuses and you start making progress in your careers. I look at ownership as the difference between waiting for opportunities and creating opportunities. Okay, so how do we practice ownership every day? I don't think it is complicated or difficult, but it does take thought and intention. I always speak to my new boots to start with this. Show up on time and ready to work. Know and understand your role and know it well. And ask questions when you don't understand something. I urge everyone to take responsibility when mistakes happen. Own it and look for ways to improve processes. I always add to or wrap up an orientation by reminding us to help others succeed. That's part of every job. Oh, and most importantly, care about what you do. At the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen, ownership is a choice. I'm not going to say any choice is a wrong choice, but I do think it has to be our choice. You can do the minimum, just stay in your lane and wait to be told what to do, or you can take pride in your work, lead from where you stand, and be the example others follow. In other words, be that employee we're always talking about. In warehousing, transportation, and supply chain operations, we deal with movement, products, freight, and information. But the most important thing we move forward is people, and I think we should say our careers and futures also. And I believe ownership is the driving force behind all of it. So whatever your role is today, sanitation, forklift operator, selector, clerk, dispatcher, analyst, or leader, let's own it. And a quick opinion, when you own your role, you don't just do the job. You define it and choose what it'll be. We all make so many choices and decisions every day. That's how we drive our personal and professional lives and, well, our futures and careers. If you have any thoughts or experiences with ownership, please share them on our Instagram at WAOC Podcast or our Facebook feed using that little @ WHSEOPS, and we'd love to hear from you by email, host@warehouseandoperationsasacareer.com. Until next week, be safe out there. Our friends and family are looking forward to seeing us.